Good morning. This is the time and place for the Planning Hearing Officer hearing for July 31st, 2024. My name is Vista Izati, and I will be conducting the hearing as the hearing officer. The Planning Hearing Officer meeting is being broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable Channel 6 and AT&T Uverse Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition on the city's webpage, glendaleca.gov/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire devices using a free app called ScreenWeave and choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city's website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting the questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person. We have two cases involving discretionary permit applications for this morning. The hearing will proceed as follows. I'll read the description of the application request. The case planner will make a brief overview of the case, give analysis, and make a recommendation. The applicant will then be given an opportunity to speak, stating their name for the record, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and interested parties will be connected by telephone to give comments, again clearly stating their name for the record within a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments, if desired, in response to testimonies given by preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and the case taken under submission. Findings. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the required findings set forth in the municipal code, then the project can either be approved or approved with conditions. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. Records of decisions for all projects will be posted online on the Planning Division website. Appeals. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.62, the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal must file using the city's online permit portal. For any additional information regarding the appeal process and submittal, please contact the case planner. Public notice. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners and occupants located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. I would also like to inform everyone that the official proceedings of the Planning Hearing Officer hearing are being televised live and may be viewed online on the city's website. All right, so we'll move on to the first item today. The project address is 2270 Honolulu Avenue, Unit A, case number PCUP-002716-2023. The project description is the applicant is requesting approval of a conditional use permit to permit the continued operation of a massage establishment in the CR commercial retail zone. And at this point, I'll turn it over to the case planner, Mr. Alan Lamberg, for his presentation.
Thank you, Planning Hearing Officer Izadi. Good morning, members of the public. My name is Alan Lamberg, and I am the case planner for this project. The application under consideration is a conditional use permit renewal to allow the continued operation of Spa Pura, which is a massage establishment located at 2270 Honolulu Avenue, case number PCUP-002716-2023. The applicant proposes to renew their conditional use permit to continue the use of an existing massage establishment with no changes to the building or current operations. On July 17th, 2017, a conditional use permit, case number 1707072, was approved to allow a massage establishment at the subject address. That CUP has since expired as of August 2nd, 2022. The CUP renewal qualifies as a Class 1 existing facilities category exemption, as there is no physical expansion of the building or intensification of an existing use. The project location is located on the south side of Honolulu Avenue between Ocean View Boulevard and Market Street in the CR Commercial Retail Zone. Here we see existing conditions in the site plan and floor plan. The massage establishment will remain at its current location, fronting Honolulu Avenue, with a north-facing storefront entry to the reception area and massage rooms. The tenant building is situated at the front of the street, with employee parking behind it. The 7,000 square foot massage establishment includes a just under 3,000 square feet on the ground floor, 800 square feet mezzanine, and a 3,200 square feet subterranean level. The applicant is not proposing any changes to the exterior. It will remain as it exists with no new added floor area. The massage establishment is in a multi-tenant, two-story commercial building with a mezzanine and a subterranean level, and is operated at this location since 2005. It is among 3 commercial tenants in one building, with 2 restaurant uses on the same 7,125 square foot subject property. While there is no on-site parking, there are several city parking public lots and metered spaces within walking distance. And the project was publicly noticed pursuant to sections 3061.010 of the Glendale Municipal Code, where a request for a conditional use permit is publicly noticed at least 10 days before this hearing. And notice includes publication in the official newspaper, postcards to property owners and occupants within a 500-foot radius of the subject property, and a notice sign posted on site. Furthermore, the city clerk facilitates notice at City Hall and the city's public meeting portal on the internet. The staff report demonstrates that the 4 required findings of fact for conditional use permit have been made for this project. Finding of fact A, the proposed continued use will be consistent with the various elements and objectives of the general plan. The land use element of the Glendale General Plan designates the subject site as regional center, which encourages improved retail facilities and a range of services, including personal services like massage establishments in central business districts, where there are typically specialized zoning districts and revitalization programs. The project will not significantly impact other elements of the general plan. It's not expected to increase traffic or noise levels, with Honolulu Avenue able to handle the traffic and noise controls measures in place. It involves no activities harmful to the environment or depleting natural resources, and it does not affect historic structures or districts. It does not impact housing availability or quality, and does not encroach on open spaces or public parks. And it does not interfere with nearby recreational facilities or activities, and poses no safety risks to the community. Finding of fact B, ensuring the use will not be detrimental to the public or the environment. The massage establishment, operating since 2009, is not expected to negatively impact the community or conflict with nearby businesses. It employs professionals certified by the CAMTC and conducts its own background checks. With no police calls last year, neither the Glendale Police Department nor the Neighborhood Services Division have any concerns with the establishment's operation. The establishment must comply with all relevant regulations, including the GMC Chapter 5.64 and the California Massage Therapy Act. City of Glendale and LA County Health Services representatives shall have full access for compliance verification. The conditions will ensure that the massage establishment will continue to operate responsibly. Finding of fact C, ensuring the use is compatible with surrounding uses and properties. The applicant's request to continue with no changes a massage business in a commercial building aligns with the area's land uses. The property in a pedestrian-friendly Montrose shopping park is surrounded by similar commercial services, ensuring compatibility. There are no residences, libraries, or hospitals in the immediate vicinity. Nearby are an adult daycare and 2 places of worship. Conditions have been proposed to mitigate potential disruptions and ensure compatibility with existing land uses. Finding of fact D relates to ensuring adequate facilities that exist for the use. The applicant's request to continue with no changes or added floor area, a massage establishment will not strain public or private facilities. The establishment is equipped with utilities, landscaping, parking, and traffic management measures. Existing utilities are sufficient, and no changes to parking are planned. With 586 off-street parking spaces and 133 on-street metered parking within the Montrose Shopping Park, the operation will not increase parking demand or require new city services or changes to existing traffic flow. No public comments were received regarding this case, and the other city department comments included recommendations of standard conditions of approval, which are imposed on similar projects. Given all the information presented here and in the staff report, and with the recommended conditions of approval, the staff recommends that the conditional use permit be approved. This concludes my presentation. I am available for questions. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. No questions at this time. We'll proceed to the public hearing portion. I'd like to call up the business owner, Michelle Ju. Hi. Would you like to give a presentation? Or maybe your daughter would like to?
Maybe my daughter.
Okay, that's fine. So, Crystal? Yeah, if you wouldn't mind approaching the podium. You have 15 minutes just to give us kind of a brief overview of your operations and what you're asking for.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we've been in business for over 10 years now. We're very lucky to have been in the community, and we're excited to continue the business. We just want to, and we hope that the conditional use permit will be renewed so that we can continue to be there for the community. And we hope that, we just help to better the community.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Just a few questions. So in the report, it says you guys are a full-service beauty spa. What kinds of services do you guys offer in addition to the massages?
Yeah, so we offer facials, body wraps, body scrubs.
Okay. And then what are your hours of operation?
So our services start at 10.
Okay.
We're normally open by 9:30, and then we stay open till 6.
Okay, and that's Monday through Sunday?
Monday through Sunday.
Okay, sounds good. And then how many employees do you guys have?
We currently have 26.
26. And then are they all masseuses or?
We have massage therapists.
Okay.
We have estheticians who have their own licenses.
Okay.
And then we have front desk staff and janitorial.
Got it. And then just a couple more questions real quick. So the plans were just a little hard to make out, but how many massage rooms are there?
So we have 6.
6? Okay. And then are they all on one level or are they?
They are all on one level, yes.
Okay. And then the last just kind of question, have you reviewed the staff report and the recommended conditions of approval?
Yes.
Okay, and do you have any issues with any of the conditions? No. Okay, thank you. I don't see any other speaker cards. Do we have any callers?
Negative.
Okay, thank you. This item's going to be taken under submission for a decision at a later date. You guys will get a copy of the letter in the mail, okay? Thank you. We're gonna move on to the next item. So the next item, we'll just let's take a brief recess maybe for a few minutes while the case planner prepares. So maybe like a 3-minute recess. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. So we're going to move on to the second item for this morning. That is the address is 1015 North Central Avenue, case number PCUP-002795-2024 and PVAR-003198-2024. The project description: the proposed project encompasses the expansion of and improvements to the existing Armenian Apostolic Church located in the R1250 high-density residential zone. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow the expansion of the existing church and a setback and standards variances to allow the removal and replacement of the existing church tower with new dome/bell tower elements with an overall building height of 55 feet, construction of a new detached accessory building consisting of an outdoor open altar with an overall height of 48 feet 5 inches to the top of the dome/bell tower element, construction of a new to construct new 24-foot high columns, arched architectural elements, and an 18-foot high entry gate and fence in the courtyard area. 3, to exceed the maximum allowed floor area of 500 square feet for the new accessory building, which is the outdoor altar. And 4, expand the existing church floor area and construct a new fence within the required street front setback and construct a new accessory building, the outdoor altar, with a 0 setback from the south interior property line in the R1250 high-density residential zone, described as Lot C, parcel map 1340, tract 4045 and 4048, as per map book 176, page 16, APN numbers 5636-007-075 and 076. I will turn it over to the case planner, Ms. Milka Toledo, for her presentation.
Thank you, Hearing Officer Azati. So as you indicated, there's a lot of information you covered as it relates to what you read in terms of the description. So I'll try to kind of just briefly go over the highlights in terms of the project location. The project is located in the R1250 high-density residential zone. The church, there's currently a church and the Children's Daycare Center. The zoning for the property and the surrounding uses, to the north, we have R1250 in the PPD directly to the north, and then we have also high density to the east, the R1250 and the C3 commercial High District 3 to the east. That includes both commercial services, a private school, the Incarnation Parish School, and associated church as well. To the south, we have a commercial C2, High District 2, and then to the west, we have R1250 high density residential along Fairview Avenue, and then community commercial High District 2 along Glen Oaks Boulevard, and that includes uses both multifamily along Fairview and commercial uses along Glen Oaks Boulevard. The property is located, as indicated, has multiple frontages. Central Avenue would be the street frontage to the east, and then Fairview Avenue would be the street side to the north. And then a portion of the site is adjacent to or fronts Glen Oaks Boulevard to the south. Again, the property is the R1250 high-density zone. It's approximately 1.2 acres. We've talked about frontage in terms of existing development. Currently, the site is developed with a 7,880 square foot two-story building, which has been used as a church since its construction around 1941. The church building is located at the corner, again, of Central Avenue and Fairview. Also, there's an existing two-story, approximately 14,873 square foot children's daycare, which is located towards the west, facing Fairview Avenue. And then on-site parking is provided on a surface parking lot, which has 31 parking spaces, and that's located towards the west. The access, by the way, to the parking is from both Glen Oaks Boulevard to the south and then Fairview, so it's sort of like a through parking lot. The church and the children's daycare center buildings are currently vacant pending establishment of the new church operator, which is the Glendale Armenian Apostolic Church. And we will move forward to, and there's currently one protected oak tree on the property, which will be removed in conjunction with the improvements that are proposed on site. Comments were received from other departments when this was routed. We received comments from Public Works, Traffic Engineering, Urban Forestry, and GWP. And in terms of the comments received, we did receive from Public Works standard comments, and from GWP, there was comments made regarding verifying that the proposed location of the electrical transformer vault does not conflict with the existing easement, and then Urban Forestry comments indicated that they will require an arborist report to be submitted for that existing oak tree and then street trees in the right-of-way. The applicant is proposing, as you mentioned earlier, a conditional use permit, and that is to allow or permit a place of worship at the subject site, and then the variances, which you went over earlier, so I'm not going to go through each item again, but there are 5 variances in this case that are being proposed as in conjunction with the expansion of the existing church that's there. Again, also as it relates to the construction or improvements to the site as a whole, and also that includes the new accessory building that they're proposing with the along the south side, which is the outdoor altar. The code requirements have been outlined in the staff report, so I'm not going to go through each one because it's sort of already embedded in my presentation, so I'll kind of go through it a little later. So in terms of the expansion of the church, they're proposing to, again, expand the existing building footprint for purposes of, again, of creating a new covered entry at the corner, or northeast corner of Central Avenue, and a new main and secondary altar and baptismal area that they're proposing for the church expansion. These additions or expansions would encroach into the existing street front setback areas. And the new gate or fence that's being proposed will also be encroaching into the required setback areas. The new floor area expansion on the first floor of the church and the new outdoor area will not be used as seating or viewing area, and therefore does not trigger an increase in the required number of parking spaces. The existing second floor is and will remain occupied with conference rooms, offices as well for the church. In terms of the existing setbacks, currently the minimum setback is approximately 7 inches, and it ranges up to 10 feet 7 inches with an average of 9 along the street front, which is Central Avenue. The street side is Fairview Avenue, and the remaining at the south and west sides would be interior property lines or interior setbacks. The zoning code requires a minimum street front setback for a building in the R1250 zone of 12 feet and an average of 23 for the street front and 20 feet for the gates and fences. And the minimum required interior setbacks for the new accessory building would be 5 feet and with an average of 8 along the south property line. In this case, they're proposing a 0 interior setback. I'm just highlighting in terms of the floor plan, the yellow identifies the expansions to the building, which I briefly discussed. As far as the northeast corner, that would be the new main entrance with that covered entry, and the expansion to the backstage and altar area, and then the secondary altar, and then a baptismal font. And then on the lower portion of the screen, that would be the new outdoor altar, which includes 2 restrooms and storage area. So again, the applicant's request is to expand the main church building and install the new fence and gate, which would result in reducing the existing non-conforming street front and average setback along Central Avenue, ranging from 5 inches at the northeast entry corner to 12 feet 4 inches towards the south, and average ranging from 4 feet to 10 and a half feet. Without the variance requests for the reduced setbacks associated with the church expansion, it would not be able for the church to then have the necessary space that it needs and features in order to carry out its traditions and services associated with the church. So requiring the applicant to comply with the code would result in impractical difficulties and changes to the existing church that would restrict the use of the site as a place of worship. And also to comply with the minimum street front setback for the new gate would not then allow the church, for a fence in the church would not allow, to comply with the minimum 20-foot setback for the street front for the fence and gate would not allow the church site to provide the safety and security for its staff and members. For the church to come into compliance with the setback regulations, a large majority of the church would need to be demolished, resulting in a hardship in general for the church to provide services for the community. And if this was a commercial zone property, as is the case with adjacent parcels to the southwest and directly across the street along Central Avenue and Glen Oaks to the south, then the proposed minor expansion of the church building could be done without the need for variances, as there's no setback requirements or street front setback requirements in the C3 zone. And the same is true as it relates to the security fence that is being proposed. So the development of the site as proposed is consistent with surrounding properties. In terms of the new accessory building that's being proposed, 0 feet from the interior property line along the south side, the same is true. If this wasn't based on the uniqueness of the site, the irregularity and how the shape of the property, that's another reason why the setback regulations in this case are not being complied with. And if that's the case, then they couldn't, again, be able to, for the church to carry out its services and feature the buildings that it needs in order to carry out its services. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but in order for the church then, if it were to come into compliance, then a large majority of the church would need to be demolished, which would again result in a hardship requiring more investment for the church to provide services for the community. Talked a little bit about the expansion in terms of the floor area, but in terms of the height and that variance that's being requested, as proposed, the existing church tower, which includes the main altar, has an overall height of 55 feet. The zoning code allows a maximum building height in the R1250 zone of 3 stories, 36 feet. So in this case, the existing building height is considered, currently it has 55 feet, so it's therefore considered non-conforming or legal non-conforming. The variance request to increase the church's building height would involve removing the existing 55-foot church tower and replacing it with a new dome or bell tower at the main altar, and there are additional slightly reduced in terms of height bell towers that are also proposed. The 55-foot height for the church will again be consistent with the existing height that's currently there. And in terms of this top image shows the building from the south, again, the bell tower at the 55-foot height. The west elevation view, that's on the lower screen, that's the interior courtyard view. And by the way, the existing church is vacant and it's currently under construction, if I didn't mention that earlier, pending moving forward with the variances that is being requested. In terms of the new outdoor courtyard area, the applicant's proposing a new 20 or 24-foot high columns and other architectural elements, as well as an 18-foot height entry gate. And this would be the views from the interior courtyard. Those are it shows the 24-foot high columns, the entry gate along the north side facing Fairview. And then again, we've seen this image before, the west elevation within the courtyard view. The outdoor altar, the proposal is to construct the new 1,156 square foot accessory building, again, to be used as an outdoor altar, providing 0-foot setback from the interior property lines, as I mentioned earlier. The overall height for this particular building would be 48 feet 5 inches, and that would be to the top of the dome bell tower. The variance findings, staff has drafted findings for your review. The applicant obviously will be making their own findings, and staff is recommending approval for both this conditional use permit and the setback and standards variance requests, subject to the conditions included in the report. I believe I've touched on several points within the findings, but if there's something specific that you would like me to maybe dive a little deeper in, as it relates to the findings for the conditional use permit or the variance requests, let me know and I'll do so at this time. Before I move into that, I would like to highlight that we have received, we very recently received, staff received some letters, one specifically from Francesca Smith, and we also received a second letter from Damian Sullivan. We received those, staff was made aware of those letters earlier this morning, so we need some time to review those letters. Staff has not had the opportunity to review them, so I cannot comment on those letters at this time.
Okay, thank you. If you'll just give me one moment, there's some commotion outside. 1 second, thank you. Sorry, Ms. Toledo, I just had one question. I think you mentioned this. The church tower that's being replaced, that's currently 55 feet?
That's my understanding. That's what the applicant has told staff, that it's 55 feet.
Okay, and then this is a new church going into a church that's been vacant for some time?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing, and I have a card for Mr. Aram Alajajian as the applicant. Okay, you'll have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Vista.
Sure.
For the record, I'm Aram Alajajian, project architect. The address is 320 Arden, Suite 120, City of Glendale. Milka, thank you very much for your presentation and allowing me to use your slides here. Let me say that when Armenian Apostolic Church purchased the property about 2 years ago, we went through the process of examining what's out there and how it could be reused, the existing church. First of all, the existing church didn't comply with the religious standards of the Armenian Apostolic Church. So the additional baptismal font and a prayer altar was a necessity. Also, the main altar needed to be remodeled and revised according to the religious standards of the Armenian Apostolic Church. So this triggered the additions along the building. The other important thing that we noticed, the building wasn't accessible to ADA at all, zero. So with that in mind, we pulled a permit to comply with the addition of elevator. But before I go there, if you don't mind, Milka, I just want to make one correction on the slides that was presented to us. I forgot, I should have said that before. It's the second slide where it shows the tree in the middle. That's not an oak tree. We have an arborist visited the property. That was a pine tree that was already removed. The oak tree actually on the school property, on the school side of it. So it's slide number 2, I think, what you had. Yeah, right. No, you just passed it. It shows and it calls out the oak tree right in there. So that to the left of it, it's the oak tree in the middle of the school. That's the oak tree that we're getting a report for. That is a pine tree, so which is already being removed.
So this information I gathered, by the way, was from the survey, which showed the oak tree there. So maybe we could talk about it later,
then
because I don't have
it
the
may
survey
be-
up, but
exactly.
it's
Maybe-
fine.
It may be some kind of an error in the survey. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that was a pine tree. Yeah. So the existing church also didn't have any restrooms. It had one restroom for the public restrooms for the public to attend. So in a religious Armenian religious way, which is 2,000 years old, you can't have a bathroom inside the church. So that's why we're proposing this outdoor altar with the restrooms. Actually, we're proposing outdoor restrooms so the people could, when they congregate outside, they could go to the restrooms outside, not inside the building. So the inside the building is only, we have one bathroom, which is only for the private use for the choir on the second floor. Other than that, we don't provide any public restrooms. And with the remodeling, we're also proposing having an elevator, which has already been placed there. Somehow the shaft is already made for it. So we're proceeding with the remodeling. In fact, where the capacity of the church, the maximum occupant load, is decreasing, not only increasing, but it's decreasing. We're not increasing, we're increasing just the usable area a little bit by adding the baptismal font and the prayer altar, and according to the religion, we are also remodeling the altar to comply with the current, with the Armenian Apostolic Church standards. So it needed to be. So the building will not exceed the current height of the tower, which is out there. And to tell you about a little bit of the building itself, that building has been, we observed the building when we started the remodeling. It unfortunately did have a fire some years ago, and the entire northeast section of the structure been damaged. We don't know if the church had the means to repair or renovate that, but basically what they did, they covered it up, and it was not stable. The inside. We have a video of it. We can provide that information anytime, or if the city wants to have that. So they had been replaced, some of the studs and some of the walls, some of the windows being closed where the fire came in or went out. So it's been remodeled a few times during the process. Speaking about the zoning that exists right now, which is R1250, it was placed as blanket zoning in that area This church been there as a church for many years, as you know, as a record, over 100 years. And at the time that the church was built, there were 50 churches in Glendale. You know, it was calculated to have 50 churches in Glendale. We have submitted the report by the historic expert, Palm O'Connor, and it should be on your files, talking about the project, the existing church. So all we're asking, you know, the addition of the altars and renovation of the altar area, main altar area. So this will be projecting into the so-called required setback if you consider that's R1250. But this is non-conforming use, which was there from a day zero, you know. It's been there, you know, for about 100 years. Although the church been remodeled, removed, reconstructed, we find out some foundation which existed on the courtyard area when we start doing repairs, and a cesspool also that was being terminated, unfortunately, you know, so those things were gone, fortunately. And then the important item to mention that we're keeping the same height, although we're changing the altar. The setback that is proposed with the newer additions of the uses are not any closer than the existing setback of the church on the north side. So the north side entrance of the main entrance of the church is about less than 2 feet away from the property line. So the non-conforming situation already exists. That almost zero setback is already there. It's a north side at the entrance. Yeah, and then yet at that location, there's no ADA access. So with the remodeling project, we created a ADA access coming from the side and then ramping up to the building, also providing an elevator for the second floor choir access and the offices. So those were the proposed alteration to the building. My opinion as an architect in practice about 40 years in Glendale, I think this really conforms and beautifies the church and serves the purpose of for a long life of the existing church. So the navel and sanctuary area is not changing at all. It's just taking some remodeling. And we are decreasing the capacity. That's also why we're decreasing it, because we're complying with the ADA code. Yeah, before it had narrow aisles, a narrower seating, it didn't have an ADA seating, hearing impaired, all of this. So the newer, when it remodels and finishes up, granted that we would receive this approval and other approvals as well. This is going to be very important for the community. It will be looking like a brand new church. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. I just have a few questions. You said you guys were decreasing the occupancy load. So what
Yes.
was it and what is it going to be about?
I think we decreased it. It was, I don't remember exactly, but the permit that we have for the remodeling, it reflects in there already. That is already calling out for the lower occupant load.
Okay.
So I think we decreased it about 10 or 15 seats
Okay.
in order to comply with the current ADA code.
Okay. And then just the open altar area and that courtyard, the courtyard's rather large. Is that also just kind of like a congregational space after services and stuff like that?
Exactly. After the services, people will congregate, and most of the worship facilities that you see in town, or people like to congregate in front of the building, which creates a problem and traffic jam and so forth. So we have an opportunity here to use the courtyard for that purpose. So after the services, they could basically congregate in there. The open altar has a dual purpose.
Okay.
It does serve also the morning prayers for the school, for the children, but the main purpose of that, it has the bathrooms outside. So we're providing the ADA required bathrooms, a number of bathrooms that do, per occupant load outside of the building, which is, if we would have been doing this all, we had to demolish the entire building. It wouldn't be remodeling, and it would be not coming here.
Yeah. The open altar area, are there any like sound systems or speakers that are going to be installed
I don't
there, or
think,
it's just normal?
at this point, it's not decided. There's no sound system included in there.
Okay. And then my last question, just have you reviewed the staff report and the recommended conditions, and do you have any
Yes.
issues with any of them?
We
or-
have no issues with that.
Okay, thank you. That's
you.
it for questions for right now. And then I did have one card for Patrick Messer-Connie and then Harut Markarian. Do they also want to just speak 3 minutes, or? Sure, okay. So we'll go into the public comment portion of the hearing. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record. I will start with Mr. Patrick Messer-Connie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Messer-Connie. I'm one of the design engineers at MLB Engineering for the project. As Mr. Aramalajajan mentioned before, portions of the building had minor fire damage in the past, and so our plan with engineering the building would be to, of course, create the addition up to today's code and then reinforce the existing portions of the building to enhance its seismic performance, things like hold downs, shear walls, updated gravity systems, larger beams. All these improvements would help make the building safer and less likely to deform in an earthquake, which we're in an earthquake zone. So I think it's a important thing to improve, especially on a building with such occupancy. And that's about it. I can answer any questions, or
No questions at this time. Thank you.
thank you so much.
Sure. Mr. Harut Markarian?
Good morning. My name is Harut Markarian. I'm the Executive Director for the Western Diocese of the Armenian Church of North America, the largest diocese of the Armenian Apostolic Church outside of Armenia that spans 13 states west of the Mississippi in Mexico. We have been fortunate and blessed to be serving our communities within our diocese for nearly a century. Through our fruitful and mutually beneficial relationships within the cities we serve in, we have been able to build parish communities that play a vital role in many facets of our greater community, including partnerships with local hospitals, first responders, schools, and of course, local elected officials. Glendale, as you all know, is the heartbeat of the Armenian community in the United States, a city that has embraced and welcomed our people, our culture, and our spiritual values. We are delighted that our faithful will soon have a permanent home in Glendale. We are eager to bring a valuable architectural asset to the city, a sanctuary that serves not only our congregation, but one that Glendale will be proud of, one that will include the only outdoor altar in the world outside of Armenia. This multi-purpose area will allow for us to host a variety of community and cultural events for our greater Glendale residents and their families. Lastly, I want to thank the entire city staff, management, and of course the council members for being supportive throughout this process. I would also like to thank the city council for recently approving the purchase of an unutilized adjacent parcel that will become an integral part of our project in beautifying our neighborhood. We look forward to working with all of you and helping us realize a long-awaited project in Glendale. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so the next speaker is Mr. Abraham Dervishian.
Good morning, Madam Planner. Abraham Dervishian. I am a longtime resident of Glendale. I am a business owner here in Glendale, and upon finding out the purchase and the construction of this church, we were really excited. So I'm here on behalf of the community to lend our support to Mr. Alajajan and the church, and the approval of these plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The next speaker, and I apologize, it's a little hard to read. I think this says Artak Tadavosian? Sorry if I got your name wrong.
Good morning, my name is Artak Tadevosyan. I am a deacon from Western Diocese. I know in Los Angeles living 4 million people and Christian percent is 75%. And it's for church for every people, not only Armenian, it's coming many people praying and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next card I have is for Derek Danyalian.
Hi, my name is Derek Danielian. Thank you for your time. I'm representing MLB Engineering. We are the project civil and structural engineering on this project. My California license number is 94256. I think it's a beautiful church. It did have some fire damage. It is definitely not up to today's building code, so we are trying to enhance its seismic and gravity performance. So, and on top of that, I think it's going to bring it's going to be very beneficial to the community, especially the Armenian Glendale Christian community. So, of course, I'm opposed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Antranik Sayan. Please state your name for the record. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Antranik Sayan. I'm an environmental engineer and Glendale resident. I live walking distance from this church. And as the architect mentioned, like the increased areas do not increase the capacity of the church, they stay the same. So I hope that this will be approved.
Okay, thank you so much. The next speaker card I have is for Meline Melkonian. Please state your name for the record. Thank you.
My name is Melina Melkonian, and I am a longtime resident of the city of Glendale, and I just want to say that this project is a very well thought out and designed project, and one which is going to be very important for the community, to bring the community together, as we have a very large influx of immigrants coming from Armenia and Artsakh at this point, and it will give them a place to congregate, to worship, and to come together as a community. Therefore, I wholly approve the project, and I think that it will be, in the long run, it will be a really good project for the city, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Okay, the next card I have is for Khachik Timorian.
Good morning. My name is Khachik Timorian, and thanks for the opportunity to speak up. I live very close by to this project site on Dorothy Drive, which is only a few blocks away. In addition, I own and operate 2 nearby businesses, restaurants. One of them is on Glen Oaks and Brent Boulevard, like a block away, called Athena Restaurant. The second one is the Impressions Banquet Hall on Orange Street. So when I learned and I read about this hearing, I decided to come in and express my full support in favor of this project. Every time I drive by or walk by this site, I get very excited that finally a church is going to be opened, or I should say reopened, for people like me to go and worship and pray and so forth, so on. It's not a secret, the community is expanding, and we really need these types of establishments, churches, for people to go and worship. Every time we go to a church, we see it's standing only environment. There are not too many places that we can really feel comfortable, especially on special holidays. It's almost impossible to get in. So I'm very supportive of this project and in favor of this project, and it's going to be serving the community to its fullest extent. Thank you for your time. and hope this will be approved. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, my last speaker card is for Henrik Sardarboyan. Sorry. Oh, that's a G. Okay, sorry. Okay, go ahead, state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Thank
Hi,
you.
Mrs. Adi. My name is Henrik Sardarbegian. I'm a 36-year citizen of the city of Glendale and a community advocate. Having lived here my entire life, or almost my entire life, I've seen a lot of buildings go up and down in Glendale. A project like this, which not only brings the community together, but it's done in a very aesthetically pleasing manner, is nothing but beneficial for the city and the members of the community. I remember nearly 30 years ago where the first German church was constructed on the corner of Kenilworth and Glen Oaks, and I was a resident very close to that at the time. People were in awe of not only how beautiful it looked, but the fact that so many different community members were joining the church, not only of German descent, but I know the Korean community was using the facility. So I think a project like this that does open its doors not only to the Armenian community, but the rest of the community in the city is not only important, but it's a necessity, especially during these days where giant apartment buildings are being constructed throughout the city. So the residents of those apartment buildings and the other residents need a place to go worship and just reflect on life. So I think it's very, very important for this project to be not only approved, but then have its doors open as soon as possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, that's it for speaker cards. Is there anyone in the audience that wanted to speak that did not have a chance to do so? Okay, do we have any callers?
Yes, we have 2 callers. Let me pick up Francesca Smith. Hello, Francesca?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You're on the air with the planning hearing officer hearing.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Ms. Azadi, my name is Francesca Smith, as you know. I'm a qualified architectural historian and recently retired from the state of California as principal architectural historian. I'm a member of the advisory committee for the Glendale Historical Society and a former board member, as well as a former board member of the Society of Architectural Historians, and a former member of the Glendale Design Review Board. I'm so sorry to hear that you did not receive my letter. It was sent to the city yesterday during business hours, long before the close of business, and it was requested that it be forwarded to the PHO, so I apologize to you in advance. Unfortunately, it ended up being about 13 pages, which is extremely long, but I had a lot to explain. I noticed in reviewing the consultant's report that North Glendale Methodist Church number 2 weren't even identified by the actual name of the property. As demonstrated in the letter, the property clearly meets 5 of the 10 historic district criteria, including the church with the school and community center. It need only meet 1 qualification to be considered a historic district. I noted the comments about the interior fire before and comments about the building code. Funnily, it was never red tagged. In addition, there is a state historic building code that would apply if the city would consider this property a historic district. The applicant's consultant didn't identify an architect. Obviously, they don't really have the internet. They didn't have the name of the church properly as it was built, and didn't compare it to other late modern distinctive examples in Glendale. It just said it wasn't an excellent example, like in the universe, who knows? And they didn't even evaluate it to be a historic district, which is professional guidance. They didn't find the postcard that shows it was the Tower of Light. They didn't find the information that soldiers during World War II were able to spend the night there if they had no other place to stay. A Life magazine article with Charles Lawton reading from the Bible that was extremely inspirational to people during World War II. So the distinctive Tower of Light built during World War II with its late modern design and the supporting buildings qualify as a historic district. It's the work of Harry L. Pierce, who is a notable designer. Is that 3 minutes?
That is, I'll give you 30 more seconds.
Thank you. So sorry. Harry Pierce designed at least 8 other church buildings in the region. One was the Massis Armenian Congregational Church in 1940. Most of them are considered historic. He's considered a notable architect. I strongly recommend that the proposed CUP and the 5 variances be denied based on the fact that this is qualifies as a historic district, and I sincerely appreciate your time.
Thank you. And then just for the record, we did receive the letter. It was just, we received it this morning. I believe it wasn't originally sent to the case planner, but someone else on staff. But we do have a copy for the record.
Right. I sent it to the planning director and asked him to send it to the PHO at once. So I apologize. Jay Platt mentioned yesterday that he had it. So
yeah, and I
sorry
have
you
a
guys
copy
didn't
as
get
well.
it.
I have a
Okay,
copy.
thank you.
Thank you. And I think there's one more caller.
We have Damian Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, hello. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you this morning. I would echo everything that the preceding caller, Francesca Smith, who is a very esteemed historian, and her credentials, I think, are beyond questioning. She's correct in the evidence that she supplied to you that this 80-year-plus long-standing landmark is, in fact, it's a legitimate historic resource that should have been recognized by the people that supplied you with the research and evaluation. The fact that you weren't given the full historical context is actually sort of unforgivable, because now this work has proceeded. There's active demolition and construction happening on a historic resource that should have been evaluated by you in light of its actual merits, and there should be a different outcome because of it. I think that the planning department is being done a disservice, and you shouldn't be in this position, because the city of Glendale has a historic preservation commission that should be involved in this. And then if they were to take a look at the actual merits and the actual architect and the late modern credentials of the architecture and the place in the history of the city of this Methodist Church number 2, I think you would find that it's a legitimate historic resource, that a huge portion of how you should be interpreting this request for variances and construction and everything on the project should have a completely different set of lenses, and you're not taking on the advice and the work of the other people that are part of the city that should have input on this, and they should be giving you guidance and giving you the correct information. An injustice is being done by eliminating this late modern with Art Deco beautiful tower, which anyone who passes by it can see it's a tragedy to tear that tower down. And I'd also ask, in closing, I'm curious what the level of construction that's already happening, which is there's a lot of demolition and construction that's already going on there. Is any of that the work that you're being asked to approve right now? Because the fence was moved on the land that was not owned on the Glen Oak side. That was annexed, and the fence was brought out to the line without the city selling that land to the applicant, and that was discovered and presented in city council, and then the fence magically moved back a few days later when the council members agreed that the church does not own that property. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much. All right, so the applicant, Mr. Alajajian, I will give you 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, for the forest concern, let me clarify that before we start the project, we checked with the staff, the city. This is not in the historic registry list in the city of Glendale. The building, and then mentioning this World War II site of a congregation. I kind of read about it. It happened before the church, this exact church was built. I think this was back in 50s, but that World War II was 1942, by the way, just to keep the records online. And then the building was severely damaged by earthquakes and all that. I forgot to mention that the tower, we had a structural engineer besides the engineering team that is helping us to come out there. It had leaks and it has been separated from the main body of the sanctuary. It had severe cracks. We have photo records of it. And finally, you know, the Methodist Church is gone. So any church, any worship facility, whether it's a Christian church or a synagogue, takes it over, they're going to have to remodel the altar and bring the facilities to their needs. So the community or members of congregation could use the space. Simply that's the direction here, you know, besides the respecting what they are. So the sanctuary, the main forms are staying same. The changes are happening only on the altar area, which is not even safe to keep that tower. For some, I understand, you know, it's beautiful. For some, it's not. You know, it's really a question, what is beautiful, you know. I'm an architect, I've been in practice. I don't call myself, you know, historian, you know, qualified historian or whatever, but I did study history a lot, to be honest with you. And thank you very much, you know, for your time. If you have any questions, any other areas that I should cover, please let me know. I'm available.
The photographs you mentioned, does our staff have copies of that, or could you provide it to the case
We
planner?
have, no, we can provide those copies to you, and also videotape of the structure
I
itself.
think the photos will be fine. It's hard
Photos
to
are
kind
fine?
of
Yeah,
keep
we can
video
provide
on
all of
record,
that.
so
Yes.
I think photos will be fine.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that, I am going to close the public hearing. This item will be taken under submission for decision at a later date. You will receive a copy of the decision letter once it's been completed. And with that, this hearing is now officially closed. I wanted to thank everyone in the audience and at home for their participation, and I hope you guys all have a nice day. Thank you so much.